All right, guys, what's going on? We're here. We're live. Welcome to another Poker Live podcast. My name is Joey Ingram1, aka Chicago Joey. Joined today by another one of the. We've been getting some legends on lately, but man, this guy is definitely one of the. We're already making him smile over there. This is one of the legends of the online poker world, and I know a lot of people out there might be. They might be only a year or two into poker. They might be watching the podcast, and they might not have heard of Krantz. And for those that haven't heard of Krantz, I mean, dude, you were battling at the highest stakes for you. You were you were like the end boss before really the end boss word was around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I fondly remember those days.
And I was thinking about it too. Some people might know you as this. I forgot you did Bet Raise Fold. That you were very much involved in the making of Bet Raise Fold, the poker documentary, correct?
Yeah. I was producer on that.
And then also, Deuces Cracked. Were you the creator of that, the founder of that? Or were you involved?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders.
Are you still there?
Yeah, did we freeze up for a sec?
Oh yeah, maybe. Sometimes that happens. But yeah, for Deuces Cracked. So you founded Deuces Cracked, or you were?
Yeah, I was one of the co-founders of Deuces Cracked, and I think we launched in 2008.
Are you still involved with Deuces Cracked right now?
I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but yeah, I'm kind of. I help oversee the strategy and the direction of the company, which is really interesting post Black Friday in this kind of modern poker world. Everyone's getting into Twitch, and it's really interesting to have been involved in poker training for so long and to see the way it's evolved and to kind of think about where it might be going after having been through, the past decade in poker. It's a weird position to be in.
Yeah. So how much are you still following poker? Are you still active on 2+2? Or are you still kind of paying attention to the trends? Obviously, you mentioned Twitch, and it seems like if you're still kind of thinking about strategy content to make, then you're probably still kind of, following it somewhat.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm probably involved in following poker as little as I have been, ever in my career, but I lurk 2+2 now and then. I drop in on the lounge and lay a post down. It's not quite the community that it was for me when I was coming up. My friends aren't as active on there anymore, so I just spend less time there. But I'll watch a video on Run It Once now and then, and I'll check in on Jason Somerville's Twitch stream. And I know Negranyu just got on there, so I kind of looked in and saw what he was doing. I'm friends with a ton of people on Facebook, so I see the sort of big beats of the stories and the drama that are happening in the poker world. But for the most part, it's sort of very, very small piece of my life these days.
So what's a big part of your life these days? Where are you living in New York right now? What are you doing with yourself?
No, I'm in Austin, and living the life, the laid back life. What am I doing? I'm doing a lot of creative projects. I have a lot of different film projects. I'm writing a book, and I'm working in virtual reality, which is really crazy and exciting. And kind of very much like a Wild West territory, kind of like poker was back when I got started in online poker in the early 2000s. I'm trying to spin all that up into something sustainable and lucrative. But right now, you mentioned I was involved with Bet Raise Fold. I did the micros in 2 months, 2 million in poker also. And so I had kind of two tracks in poker. There was the player and the coach, and then there was the entertainer and the producer. And the player and the coach did really well. It was really lucrative. The entertainer and the producer, I'm edging my way towards break even in that game, trying to figure out how the hell do you make some sort of make this a sustainable business? How do you make money at this? And every year I get a little bit closer. I get like a little bit of a better notion, but I'm still, treading water there, getting more and more opportunities, taking bigger and bigger shots, but still like, I'm trying to get to a point where I can like be doing that and then dabble back into poker on the side.
I like how that when I was talking about what you've done, I totally neglected 2 months, 2 million as well too. I mean, that just kind of like it doesn't even. You know what? It doesn't even come to the top of the mind. I guess I've had I've had Ansky on again recently, and we were talking about that a bit. And I think Ariel, we were chatting about that too. But yeah, it's kind of you have had two sides of things, and obviously it sounds like one was much more lucrative than the other one. Have you thought about getting back into poker at some point in time? Do you still play any poker at all? Do you feel like it's something you could get back into if you wanted to?
I play now and then. Like I played in the World Series last year, and it was really interesting to, I kind of went in there, and all my friends are really, really good at poker. They're just like, we were all really good back when I was playing, and they've just gotten like 1,000 times better over the years. So like talking with Vanessa or Dan Smith and Brian Roberts, they went deep in the main event, just talking strategy with them. I felt like I had eased back into it and was very comfortable. There's still that rust factor that you've got when you take a lot of time off and you start to make unconscious mistakes. Your mechanics are not polished. But, I had fun playing this like amateur level in the World Series. I thought about getting back into it, but I talk a lot with Alexei Martov, Martin Bradstreet, who kind of has also left poker to pursue like creative endeavors, or as a like online poker existentialist might say, like spiritual happiness rather than material wealth. And both of us kind of believe that poker is the kind of thing that can be really fun, but when you're trying to like go all in on artistry or another endeavor that's not poker, any time away from focusing on that endeavor is handicapping you. You're not developing your skills. You're spending time developing another skill that ultimately is not going to help you. So I don't know. I never closed the door on coming back to poker, and it's just a part of me, but right now it's not on the cards.
I guess, do you still get enjoyment playing on a more amateur level? Is it something like once you start playing, you know what I mean? It's almost like you get that rush, that addiction sort of comes back, and you're like, I want to be playing more. And just like obviously the money involved and the money you can make, it's just, I feel like it's something you can't really make at anything else. And I feel like the desire to play would just want to come back so strong for me.
It was like that for me at first, and it's been a long and evolving process, because like I have been playing less and less since Black Friday, so it's like 4 years now, an evolving process where at first it was like painful to try to play at a casual level, because every part of me wanted to be playing super high stakes against the end bosses, all day, every day. And, as I weaned myself off of it, I started to become more used to the idea of like, okay, I can play socially now, or I can play lower stakes. I think lower stakes came first. I can play competitively at lower stakes and get some enjoyment out of it, because I'm trying to like practice my skill set and keep myself sharp. I'm not really concerned with the money. Then it became like, okay, this is just a waste of time. Maybe I need to find a way to get enjoyment playing socially, like in super low stakes games, but with friends. So I'm just like engaging with poker at the most fun, purest level. And over time now, it's like I can go to home games that are like $5 buy-ins, show up with like a bottle of whiskey, and just, pound that to the face and have a really good time. Same goes for like a 1-2 or like a 2-5 live no limit PLO game. I can show up to that and I can have fun playing. And the fun for me is just like feeling the cards in my hands and owning some people with a really nasty move that they never saw coming, never even dreamed could exist, you know? That type of stuff is fun. The money, though, you know, you say that there aren't that many things where you can make as much money. Like, I suppose I do agree with that. However, like, it's such a career where, like, the top, like, 1% probably make, you know, 7 figures plus a year, right? And not every year either. And it's extremely emotionally volatile, which is not something that I miss at all, that emotional volatility. It's great to, like, not have to deal with that on a day-to-day. You know, if you're doing it, like if you're a grinder and you're making, you know, high 5 figures, low 6 figures or something like that, and, you know, it's pretty easy relative to other fields to do that. At the same time, like if you're at the top of other fields, you're making, you know, 6 figures, 7 figures as well. So I guess I'm still at the point. I'm like transitioning from a young man to an older man. I just turned 31. It's like I still have a lot of risk in me, a lot of appetite for risk, but I'm applying it towards something that I guess seems more interesting right now, more exciting, more even challenging, because poker just, for me, and I think this is like, I'm getting a little rambly now, but I think this is wound up in all the bad blood that came with Black Friday. For me, it was just like, you know, such a negative event that struck me at a time when, you know, I've got a lot of great things going in poker. Everything is basically obliterated except for Bet Raise Fold, the movie, which was about what happened. And so it's like, well, I can leave the country and with all my friends and keep playing poker, or I can throw myself into making this documentary really awesome and meaningful and see where that takes me in the entertainment industry. And I went that way, and here I am. There's no simple answer to this, you know?
Do you sometimes wish that you would have went outside the country and started trying to pursue still playing poker online?
Not really. Like I've never been one to kind of regret the past, because I think that was like something that I learned playing a lot of poker. You know, when you lose a shitload of money, you have to be able to let go and detach in order to, you know, live in the present and play the hand that you're playing, play the session that you're playing. So I've never really second guessed my actions, and it feels right. Like my happiness level without that emotional volatility, I think, is probably higher. Not playing poker, I do miss that. Like, it was a core part of my identity. It still is, but not nearly as much as it was. Like, you know, I accomplished and achieved all these things in poker. I did a lot, and so it feels odd, or there's like a bit of melancholy around leaving that behind. But you know, life is crazy, right? It's like so much can happen in life, so much changes all the time. So you kind of have to just, I don't know, my philosophy is just move forward and keep following that forward momentum and wherever your energy is pulling you. And these days it's not competing at poker. I am, you know, I see my friends and they're like traveling the world, and like Donnie's getting married in some exotic location, and you know, I can't really be spending as much money on high quality sushi as I used to spend, and it's like, yeah, that I do miss, but it doesn't like eat me up inside or anything like that.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple things that I've always said and talked about, and I'm kind of happy to hear other people think that way too, is the idea of regret, in that, especially being a poker player, you can't really regret. You have to try to like block out the idea of regret, whether it's a losing session or something goes wrong with a girl or something goes wrong with pretty much anything. I think being able to block out that feeling of regret is like a skill that isn't very much talked about when it comes to like what makes a successful poker player. And also something else that was interesting, which was that, I think there was a time in my own life when I came back to the United States from living abroad, and I was like, all right, like my core identity, I'm a poker player. But I was thinking like, I kind of want to do something else outside of poker. And then at some point I was like, you know what, like just like you said, I feel like I've done a lot in poker, and like poker is kind of who I am. My core identity, and I guess I decided to just go all in with it and just, all right, let's keep on moving at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like you kind of went the other way, where you're like, all right, let's embrace maybe a different path in your life.
Yeah, I think I always had two dueling dreams in mind. One was like I saw Star Wars when I was really young, and it was like super formative to me. I was just completely, my mind and imagination was completely wound up in this like movie universe and all the aspects of it. How did they make this? How am I like, is it emotionally moving me like this? How is it transporting me? And other movies too, like Rounders as well, especially with relation to poker. Like that kind of a storytelling and meaningful storytelling that you see, like the reason why so many poker players watch television shows and obsessively consume them, like that the mechanics of entertainment always fascinated me. I always dreamed about that. But then poker, when I was exposed to that, it was like the kind of maverick in me was activated, and it was like, holy wow, you can like play this amazingly interesting game and make money at it and really have a lot of fun doing it. I mean, it was like the most fun thing that you could do, and you could do it all the time. And I was doing it all the time anyway because I was so obsessed. And it was making me money. It was also losing me money. I went broke a lot when I first, like everybody, when you first start playing, trying to get a handle on it. So for me, it was like, oh, wow, you can turn this amazingly fun thing into a career that's super lucrative. All right, like I'm going to just follow this. I went to film school, so I was like, I had both of them in hand. But then towards the end of film school, it's like online poker was booming. There's no way I'm not going to, A, like try to make as much money as possible. B, like this subculture that's evolving around it is super awesome and fun. I'm making a lot of new friends. We're traveling. Like this is a really exciting lifestyle to live in your 20s. So I went all in on that then. And I never even dreamed that, I could not possibly dream that where it would lead me. But I always had in the back of my head, like, am I going to ever make like my version of Star Wars or whatever it ends up being? Am I going to make an impact as a storyteller? And I started to get a taste of that with the micros, really, which was like one of the most fun things that I've ever done. I mean, there's a lot of just like laughing our asses off, coming up with hilarious jokes and looking at things that were happening in poker and just like thinking about the funny stuff that happens in poker at the poker tables, that happens, the funny ways like huge donkeys think about the game, and being able to like put on those YouTube videos. As I'm sure you know, with these podcasts, you have instant feedback, right? Like if somebody likes something, that's really gratifying. So to be able to do that with storytelling, that to me was sort of like, A, it was a sign that I could do it. B, it just like activated everything for me.
We can watch the micros still on YouTube. For those who don't know what the micros was, it was an animated like poker like series where it followed what was the guy's name, the main character in that?
Chase Burger. He's a donk with a dream.
Like, man, those were really great. Those were really fun. I mean, but something like that even make any money though when you were doing that? Because it seems like a lot of the stuff in poker that you would do, even something like Bet Race Fold, I'm not even sure those really can make any money, which is probably why we don't see more things like that being done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the micros, we had a sweet deal. We had a sponsorship deal with Full Tilt and then later Poker Stars for one episode. And actually, like, if Black Friday didn't happen, like, I feel like the micros would have made it to television eventually. They were really supportive of it and wanted to turn it into the Simpsons of poker. and in a time when poker was still growing massively.
Mhm.
And that to me it sounded awesome. And so they really supported us and wanted to create an environment for our team where we would be able to do it full time, and we would be able to kind of make a living doing it. And so that was like a really sweet deal. But the thing is, these days that doesn't exist anymore. That type of deal just doesn't exist. And the ecosystem for independent, like fan supported content is really niche, and it's like really tiny. So to do something like that, or something like pr1nnyraid Fold, it just requires outside investment, and it's not necessarily a good investment, or it requires some like brand with massive pockets to be like, yes, like we can make money with this content. We want to fund it. And we're creative enough to like know that this content is going to be something extremely valuable, instead of just like making a safe bet on content that everybody's seen before.
Have you thought about reaching out to the new poker, what is it, poker 24/7 poker channel? I mean, I know they're going to be looking for content to, whether it's old or new, to be shown on the channel. Have you talked to them at all about potentially getting something like pr1nnyraid Fold or the micros or 2 months 2 million episodes on there at all?
Yeah, I might. I have the contact for one of the guys there, and I may reach out to him about the micros. It's sort of like, part of me is like, I've done a lot of pitching the show to like everyone you could think of with money, and so part of me is like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, here's somebody who's taking a big risk on poker in a time when nobody's really risking a lot. And so maybe the powers that be there are creative and will be interested in the show. Are we frozen, by the way?
Sometimes I'm not sure if it's freezing on mine or it's freezing on your end, but it freezes for like 3 or 4 seconds sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, I may reach out to them, but I got so sick and tired of pitching the show to people who, like, Suits, right? Like, it's like Entourage, the Suits. And it's sort of like, well, you can look at how successful, like how much people like this show, and then you can decide whether or not it's worth it for you. Like, we're really creative. We're in touch with the community. We could make this succeed and make it grow to a level that we just weren't given the chance to. But really, like, you guys got to decide. And I got like so many just like, yeah, we're really excited about this. This is so interesting. And then just like, phone goes dead. I just was sort of like, all right, you guys, you know where to find us. You can contact us. So I'm sort of, that's where the micro stands. It would be cool to bring it back if there's an opportunity, I suppose. 2 months, 2 million. I think that show was genius, and like it was robbed of a second season. We all wanted to do it. It was so fun. I don't think it will never be done again with the 4 of us. Although, you look at Netflix. Netflix is like reviving Full House. They're reviving Wet Hot American Summer. So why not 2 months, 2 million with us? Mm-hmm. Or maybe we're grooming a new generation of like Swedish 20-year-olds. But I do think it's a cool idea, and I feel like I'm surprised like there hasn't been an indie version of 2 months, 2 million. Like 4 guys or girls, they're in a house and they do it like, on YouTube with their own camera gear. Like, why doesn't that exist? I would watch that. It doesn't have to be like super highly polished.
I can only think of one group of people that would do something like that right now. And I guess it does make it harder when you can't really play online poker in the United States. So you can't really have that like common theme around, poker winnings sort of thing, unless you relocated to a different country. Although I guess there are some Swedish PLO geniuses I could see. Those guys are all really shy and quiet. I don't think they'd ever do something like that.
Yeah, you need the personality. People need to be friends. Like, they need to have those pre-existing relationships. You can't like fan cast a series like that and just put people into a house, because the dynamics aren't fun to follow then. But I don't know. I don't necessarily think it needs to be like some super huge prize to be entertaining. Like, I feel like if it was like 2 months, $2,000, and $2,000 to these guys meant the world, like that would be hilarious.
It's an interesting idea. So I never thought about that actually. And I feel like always thinking about random ideas that could be done or people could do in poker wise. And yeah, that's actually an interesting idea.
Think about it. I'll throw another idea in there to maybe get your brain thinking. Like there's this web series that was really successful that somewhat inspired the micros. It's called The Guild. Felicia Day made it, and it's about like friends who play like a World of Warcraft like game together. And it was super low budget, but the way they shot it was like everyone in front of their own computer and they're talking on the headset to each other and they're cutting back and forth to the different people's environments. So I feel like, you could have something like that with a story like this if everybody doesn't necessarily have to be in the same place. They could be like, you could be one of the characters, somebody else could be in another location, and you all could be grinding, cut to shots of what's happening at the table, cut to reaction shots of each of you in a different spot. Then you maybe meet up in real life. Mm-hmm. There are lots of like, kind of cheat codes that you could use to make it work on a low budget type of mentality.
Yeah, for something like that, I guess you're going to need a poker player who's also a little bit tech savvy, a little bit video savvy, because at some point in time, if you're going to try to like find someone to help you edit that or shoot it, then you're going to have to pay them. And then some guys are like, I just don't want to pay for this to get done. So it's kind of like it'd have to be someone who's sort of like, who has the personality, has the friends, but also is somewhat knowledgeable about shooting and potentially editing and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I think you need that. That's what I mean. I was a producer on 2 Months, $2 Million, partly because they needed like that liaison between someone who understands like television and narrative, but somebody who understands poker and like what's meaningful in poker and what action should be captured in poker. And like there's a whole language of poker, not just like what we say to each other, but what's happening at the table and the reactions that it causes. Something hilarious at the table to somebody who's fluent in the language of poker, to somebody else like looks completely incoherent. They have no idea why that's funny, what it even means. And so there's like this meta type of thing going on. But yeah, like I met Ryan Firpo, the director of Bet Raise Fold. We met on 2+2 and 2+2 forums. Like I made a post about this documentary idea that I had, and he was just a lurker who was like a losing poker player, but he was an up and coming filmmaker. He was obsessed with film, making short films. And he was just like looking for a sugar daddy to fund his, his poker film ideas. And so it was like a match made in heaven at that point. He's like, I know how to make this stuff. You have money and expertise and connections. Like, let's do this. And so that was really helpful for me in the early days. We did some short films together called From Busto to Robusto. And he had that like, that technical expertise, and he was also willing to work super cheap or for free just to like get some experience and sweat equity.
Shout out to the sugar daddies out there, by the way. I'm sure we got a lot of poker players out there who are taking care of women, taking care of men, taking care of projects. We got to give them a shout out real quick.
Shout out to the sugar daddies.
Now we are streaming this live. We are getting a lot of comments, and I think Jay said he's only got 55 to 50 minutes before he's got to do something. So we're going to have to, I can give a quick couple shout outs along the way, but I won't be able to get as deep into the shout outs as I normally like to get. And I wrote a couple topics down that we're definitely not going to get through them all in here. We'll probably have you back on a part 2 at some point in time. What else do you have going on in Austin? So what's kind of like your day to day there? Like, how do you spend your time? What's like an average day in the life of you like?
Yeah. I wake up, do some meditation, go get an iced coffee. I take a walk through nature to get there. It's very green in this area, a lot of trees.
You doing drugs on this walk, or is this like a walk? You're looking at what kind of walk is it?
Just like it's great weather, so you just get out in touch with nature. Always reminds me of that I'm kind of like nothing. I'm just like a speck in the wind, and so it de-stresses me because I've got a lot going on. I've got a lot of balls in the air. I try to get my writing out of the way. So I'm writing this book that I'm going to self-publish, co-writing it. And the pitch for this book, it's like a steampunk adventure that takes place in like a floating Las Vegas in the sky. And this is fantasy world, steampunk aesthetic, and there's two main characters. One is this 18-year-old who has had a feud with his wealthy father, and he's taken off for this island to play in something that's called the Grand Tournament, which is essentially like our version of the World Series of Poker. They play a game called Shift that is a little bit like poker, a little bit its own creation. And he's gone there to win this game, to win this tournament. He's going to buy in with the last of his money and win this tournament. That's his dream. And the other character is this like girl from the streets who's in over her head, and she's gone to this island because she's part of a scheme to steal the grand prize. And the two of them collide and results in this sort of adventure story. And it's all about the idea of like being a maverick and coming to accept, like we talked about, this identity as somebody who likes to live life outside the box.
When can we expect to see this book being out?
I think fall or winter. I'm probably just going to say like winter just to be safe, because I've never really done this before, but my partner's great and experienced. I'm learning a lot from him. So like every day in the morning I try to get in at least an hour just writing this story and doing some reading too. So that's one thing that has a lot of my attention. I've got a couple of horror films in development that I kind of check in on that are in the way early stages, so probably too early to talk about. The other big thing though is this virtual reality stuff. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm in the middle of, for those of you guys who've like never heard of virtual reality or don't know what it is, it's Oculus is kind of the big company that Facebook bought them, and Oculus makes a headset called the Oculus Rift that looks like a snowboarding mask. You can Google it, and you put it on, and it essentially tricks your brain using this concept called presence to make you feel like you're present in another space. So if you had a VR camera set up in your place in San Diego right now, then I could put on a headset and I could be sitting in your chair and I could look around as if I were you, and I could see everything around your room in spherical video. And so there's enormous potential for creating content in this medium, in really any way you can think of. And a lot of creators are getting into it now, both in gaming, like put you in the world of a first-person shooter. So you're playing like Doom or Halo, and you can actually like look around and move your head with your actual head. But also in entertainment, in just like looking at photos and looking at, and like, Marriott did this thing that teleports you to different destinations, so you could experience like their different hotels and exotic locations. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Managing a team. I built a team. There's this, Oculus is doing this contest, month-long contest, like $1 million in prizes. You can do a game or you can do an app or an experience. I'm spearheading a team that's doing an animated short adaptation of a chapter from the Count of Monte Cristo, which is this like, it's like the 19th century Breaking Bad is how I describe it to people who have never read the book. It's an adventure revenge story, really well known. And there's this scene that takes place in a prison so you put on the headset and you're transported into the prison, and you watch this guy's descent into madness and salvation happening in front of you. I don't think we're going to win a prize at all, but like the way this came together, my brother and I really want to learn how to make stuff for this. And so we're kind of just doing what we can to get the pieces together to make stuff. So we've got that going on. And I'm with these other filmmakers that I met down here who are really interested in live action for virtual reality. We're doing camera tests to try and figure out what's the best like equipment to capture live action spherical video in high res. So right now we're like, next week we're 3D printing this like foam rig, and we're gonna paste like 12 to 16 GoPros on it that captures like every single angle, and start making live action content too.
Which sounds like you got a lot going on, man.
Yeah, exactly. So this takes me to like 5 p.m. I take my dog outside. I go for a run. I'm training martial arts. I do a little bit of that. Got the social thing going on. Live music scene down here is amazing. Weather's amazing. So yeah, I'm juggling all that stuff and like, cycling back to the idea of like creating some sort of sustainability out of this, like some sort of way to make money at it. To me, it feels like VR, because it's so hot and so new, it will be lucrative for the people who are in it in the beginning, and know what they're doing. So I'm hoping to kind of like own that space in Austin as like one of the few people who understand how to make good content for it.
Mm-hmm. How do you even learn how to get better at doing something like that? Is there a lot of material out there? Is it just kind of trial and error on your own and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't?
There's material out there, and there's like the Oculus forums are really active. There's a subforum on Reddit. There's a bunch of blogs. The people in Austin, the indie gaming scene is really booming here, and everyone's just like really geeky. Very much like the early days of online poker. Like, how do you learn it? Like, everyone's sharing everything, so just ask questions and be like, and fake it till you make it. Just get in there and start doing it. Like, I'm managing this team. I've never managed a team that includes like a programmer, a 3D artist that works in Unity. Like, I know nothing about this, but I'm sort of just manifesting reality, going with the forward momentum, and we'll have something working that like you can put on and try. Like, I have no doubt that there's going to be virtual reality poker, and one of these poker sites will get in on that. Or even just like, I could put a VR camera at the World Series. Maybe I should contact the World Series about this, because this is actually like a pretty decent idea to get some cash. Like, if you have a lot of people using this, so you put a VR camera at the main event final table, you could have a seat at the final table and watch the action unfolding around you, which is way better than what you can get watching from your living room. That's one of the big sells on VR, is that it puts you there in a way that you can't get from looking at a rectangle.
Sounds pretty damn interesting, man. I mean,
you got to try it if you can.
I really haven't heard anything about it. I guess obviously you hear like the big news from Facebook with what purchased it, but outside of that, I really haven't heard anything. This is like the most I've like. I didn't even realize like if you had a headset here, you could then if you had a headset there, you could kind of see around here. I mean, that sounds pretty sweet. Isn't there a lot of like pessimism? What the fuck is that word I'm looking for? A lot of not the opposite of optimism in terms of virtual reality. I hear a lot of negative things coming from the potential of it all too.
Yeah, I mean, that's always there. It's like kind of how online poker was in the beginning too. Like, internet poker, that's not going to be anything. But the technology is amazing. Like, once you try it, you're just like, oh shit, it's real. You really feel like you're there. Like, I was very interested in it, and then at South by Southwest last year, HBO did a Game of Thrones virtual reality exhibit. The line was like around the block. I got on that line, and they put you in a booth, put on the headset. They're blasting cold wind in the booth, and it takes you in an elevator to the top of the wall, and you look out over Westeros. And I was just like transported. I felt vertigo looking down at the top of this like 1,000-foot high ice wall. And, at that moment I was just like, this is a huge game changer. So it's the kind of thing where right now the gaming community is really into it. Like, if you talk to anybody in gaming, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's the shit. If you talk to anybody else, unless they have like a deep interest in it, they may not, like you might not have heard of it or know much about it. But if you're tuned in, like, there's a lot of insanely smart people and a shitload of money being poured into it, because the technology is so amazing now, finally, that it actually works. And so consensus is that consumers are going to start using and getting these headsets in like 2016. That's like year one of mass adoption. But it's cool. Like if you have an Android phone, you could buy something called Google Cardboard. It's like $5. It's literally a piece of cardboard that folds out and you slide your phone into it, and it creates like a really shitty virtual reality viewer. So some of the experiences will cause nausea, but you can like for $5 you can like put it together and kind of get a sense of what it's all about. You can look at like wraparound photos that are pretty cool using that
Google
thing.
Cardboard.
Yeah. YouTube just allowed for the uploading of 360-degree video also. So like they're really, bullish on it as well. They think people are going to be shooting spherical video because everyone's going to be watching shit inside these headsets.
Are you doing anything like in the early days of poker where people were blogging and making videos and kind of like taking it, like, I feel like in poker back in the day, people were a lot more into sharing their experiences, getting better, their ups and downs. Does anybody do anything like that in that industry? Do you think if someone did that, that would be a way to sort of gain a name for yourself, or maybe get people behind you following what you're doing and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with anything, it's like you really need like your voice to reach people, and you want them to be invested in like following your story. And so, yeah, there's this great blog, EleVR, ELEVR.com. It's these three like super genius girls who are just like, virtual reality is the future. Like, we are going to like figure out how to do spherical video. Here's our blog. And if you go back to the beginning, like I've learned a lot just reading through all their failures, and seeing kind of what worked and what didn't for them. I have thought like, we should get up a blog and like be writing about this or like doing something about it. And there's plenty of people that are, but as always, it's kind of like when, I'm juggling all these other things. It's like the time best spent is probably on actually making the stuff right now, at least. So it's a give and take. It might be something that I come up on. I've struggled with Twitter to this degree too. Like I really am like not active on Twitter much, because I'm just like, it's such an engagement thing. Like once you get into it and you're engaged with it, it's like a bit of a time sucker. At least I've never figured out how to do it in a way that like seamlessly integrates with the rest of the stuff that I do.
I agree. I still haven't figured out how to do Twitter either. I mean, that's something I struggle with too. Just the idea of communication with people who are maybe following along with you or following along with your stuff. That's definitely the hardest thing. That's one of the hardest things for me, is just figuring out how to allocate your time spent doing that. But I think something you said earlier, and I guess if you think about, how you became to be as like at the top of poker, is I guess that you're doing the videos on Deuces Cracked. You were active on 2+2. You had your blog. Were you blogging then too? I think you were blogging.
Yeah, I was blogging a lot.
Yeah, and you kind of, if you look at that, you saw how those sort of things helped raise your profile in the poker industry. And I would, I guess it was interesting. You said it's kind of like give or take. How much time do you want to spend doing this and doing that? And I think maybe sometimes having a blog actually motivates you almost even greater to do better stuff, just because like your stuff's so out there, and like you're sort of like holding yourself accountable by having these other people view what you're doing in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. You almost feel like you're part of a community, and the community is like kind of like with you. It's like that instant feedback mechanism. That they're there for you and you're there for them, and you've got something going, and you're telling a story. And doesn't necessarily have to be with words, really. Like what you're doing with your podcast, you're telling a story. However often you put up one of these videos, like they're coming back and part of this like expanding universe, and the evolving conversations that you're having with people as like time goes on in the poker world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I set up a website recently, jrosenkrantz.com, after not blogging for a while. That's kind of focused on these creative works. And actually, I wrote a story. Riverboat King? Are you familiar with him? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hilarious character. He and I wrote this like satirical short story together that was really fun. That's up on there. People could read. Posted on 2+2. Got some good feedback. About a devil worshiper who accidentally commits a good deed. and it might offend some people, by the way. I should put that out there. If you're easily offended, don't read it. But it's satirical, so it's only meant in good fun. But he and I had a blast doing that, and so I put up this website and I've got a mailing list going on there that I haven't really mailed to yet. But I'm sort of thinking in the same terms that you're thinking, like what is the best way to reach the people who are really interested in what's up, what I'm up to. And one of the things that I've always struggled with in moving away from poker is like I've got a lot of followers on Twitter. I got a lot of people who are interested in like what I'm up to, but at the same time, a lot of their interest comes from poker. So if it's not necessarily poker related, they may not just really care that much. So for me, it's about connecting with the people who care about the whole puzzle.
What's the name of the website, by the way? Because I just went to jrosenkrantz.com and it didn't work. So I just want to make sure people know the name of that site if they want to check it out.
It's jrosenkrantz.com, JAY, rosenkrantz.com, ROSENKRANTZ.
Okay, Rosen. Did I spell the name wrong? Oh, okay. Got it. And second thing is, I think what you'll find is that people might be interested or they might have enjoyed the work you've done along the way. They might not have any idea what the hell virtual reality is. They might literally know nothing. But from you just putting stuff out there, blogging about it, writing about it, or posting about it on 2+2 or on your website or on Twitter, now that gives people a chance to find it. They give it a chance to even learn about it and become interested just because of they already respect a lot of your work. They've enjoyed a ton of the work that you've created in poker. And now if I've liked this show, I've liked this movie, I've liked this documentary, now it gives them like an opportunity to even learn about it and then start liking kind of what you're doing too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm gonna mull that one over.
I mean, it's just like, you kind of already have this audience built up from the poker work you've done. Use it to your advantage. I don't think that's quite the word, because I think if you really love the content you're creating in this other realm, then I think people who will support you are going to support you in that too. So it's kind of you're just giving them an opportunity to find it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's also an element of like, it goes back to identity, it goes back to like voice. I think the most successful people who are able to do things like what I'm doing, like what you're doing, have this like understanding of like how best to express themselves in a way that it's a difference between people who spam people with what they're doing and people who genuinely connect with other people because they really love what they're doing and they just want to share it and they just want to connect and share and have other people enjoy that type of thing. And I guess for me, it's like my social media in a way is a little bit of I'm still figuring out like what is this identity that I'm spinning up. What does it mean to go from poker into this? But yeah, I think talking with you, I might be a little bit more convinced that just don't even really think and just share. And I'm probably overthinking things. You just gotta get in there and play, right? You can't be like studying all the time. You can't be just like thinking about playing.
It reminds me of this book. It's called Show Your Work. And I always when I read it the first time, I've read it maybe 3 times since I first read it about a year ago. And it's just kind of like this idea of just put your, like, it doesn't say put everything you're doing out there, but just kind of put your stuff out there, like show your work along the way and like kind of just, it's just why not do it sort of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think what you said was sort of interesting, like figuring out what your social media, like what your voice is on there, what it's going to be on there. And something I used to think about a little bit too, but now, I feel like I was overthinking it. And now I'm just kind of whatever comes to mind, I just kind of throw it out there. There's no real strategy or like, that sort of thing. And kind of just, you see what works, you see what doesn't. But it's it's definitely an interesting question. And yeah, it's always something to think about, man. I don't know. I've started reading a lot of things in relation to that as well too. Do you read any stuff related to like social media, anything?
I did. Well, one of my ex-girlfriends, she worked in social media, and we read a book by like Clay Shirky, who's one of the social media mavens. The name escapes me. I haven't read anything about social media in a while. I mean, I read a lot about self-publishing in terms of fiction. And so I read a lot about how successful self-published authors grow their followings and how they market to them and how they get them to read the stuff that they write and how they connect. So I understand a little bit. And I've always been interested in like the independent creator economy, like how do you get people to watch something that you've done and how do you get them to come back for the next thing? And how do you get them to buy your t-shirts or buy your posters, support your Kickstarter, whatever. And I've always been interested in how do you make that sustainable? Like, is it sustainable to do something? Like, could you create, could you create your podcast, right, as a centerpiece of like a self-sustainable entertainment empire, or not even an empire, a business, right? Where, I don't know if you've ever looked at Patreon. Are you familiar with Patreon?
No, what's that?
You should check it out. pr1nnyraid. It might actually work for you as something that you could put up. It's basically like a Kickstarter type of thing, except people back you as an artist and they pledge like X bucks either per month to support you or like X dollars per piece of content that you put up. So like they make a pledge like, yeah, I'll pay you $5 for a month of podcast to keep you going. And what's cool about it is that it's like very much a patron type of thing. It's Kickstarter is like, they're buying a product. Here with Patreon, they're like supporting you as an independent creator so you can keep doing the cool stuff that you're doing. But yeah, have you ever read anything good on social media?
Oh, well, I mean, I only mention that because I've been reading this book lately. And if anyone that's friends with me on Facebook, if they go see what I've been doing on Facebook for the past month and then go view what I've done the past 4 months, they'll notice a very distinct difference in everything that I've done on Facebook. And it's not necessarily like I'm like being a fake person or I'm like being someone I'm not. It's just kind of like it gave me ideas on how to be like, on how to figure out the type of person that I want to be on there. And on Twitter, I haven't really got too much into Twitter, but it's got a pretty good section on Twitter too. I actually took some like Twitter workshop that I saw some guy was doing just because I was really interested, but it was more for beginners and noobs. It wasn't necessarily for someone who might be a little bit established on there. But yeah, I think I'll ship you over the link to the book. I can't think of the name right now. I got it. I think it's downstairs. But yeah, it just gives you ideas, just like ways to think about like how to get your stuff out there and how to like connect with people, I guess, a little bit more.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I will say one of the things that's like super valuable to a fiction writer that I think is also super valuable to somebody who's doing video content, and it just translates across the board to anybody who's doing content and wants to connect with fans in actionable ways, is a mailing list. I don't know if you've looked into like mailing lists at all, but I think that that's probably the most powerful thing that you can start, and because it allows you to reach somebody right where they live in their inbox. And the art of like delivering them something that is valuable to them, that when they see it, they're going to be excited enough to open it because they know that every time you mail them, they have something that they like clicking. And like, you can look at, I subscribe to mailing lists just to see what these guys mail and then unsubscribe. And like the ones that I am subscribed to still, whenever it comes, I click it and I open it. The poker news mailing list isn't half bad as far as poker ones. It might be the only one that I am actually still subscribed to, but outside of poker, there's some other ones. But anyway, like that, you're going to have way fewer people on your mailing list than you do in any other platform like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. But those are ideally going to be like your people, right? Like your super fans, the people who they want to hear, like they want to support you, back you, no matter what you're doing. So to me, like I started this mailing list on my website. It's like, I think there's only like 30 people in it, and it's like some friends and family and some random people. And I haven't really pushed it yet, but to me, it's like, okay, I've started it. It's like a long run thing, but it's great. Like if I have a creative project now, I want to tell people about, like, that's going to be the first place I go And then from there, I'll go out to the social channels.
That's actually a really, really, really good idea, because I think somebody might have mentioned it to me a long time ago. I didn't put much thought into it, but when you word it like that, I think that's a great idea. Just like the hardcore people who want to, like, sometimes just might not notice what you're doing or might not see what you're doing, kind of like including a summary of what you might have done during a recent time period, and kind of like linking to the different. I think I might have froze again.
Yeah, it froze for a second.
Okay. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. You were kind of summing up the mailing list.
No, it's a great idea. It's definitely something I'm going to actually do.
Sweet.
I think I think it's a really good idea. I always like looked at, I guess it's interesting. In my mailing, I have like a 5 or 6 mailing list I have in my inbox, and some of them I think do it really well. I don't even like, I read all their stuff, but I'm not quite sure why. I'm not even that interested in it, but I find it entertaining, like the stuff they put. So it's kind of definitely.
Yeah, they deliver like something of value.
I tried a new pre-workout today. I feel like it's made my face a little bit like it's made my face a little bit weird feeling. So that might be what it is. But no bongs for the podcast, guys. No weed, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, any closing thoughts? Because I got to run to this event, but I got like 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, closing thoughts. I don't know. I have a bunch of things just randomly written down, but yeah, I'm going to say definitely just from you talking about the things that you've done in poker and the stuff you've created. It's interesting when you think about it. If not for one person, if you didn't have like the ambition or the drive to create this content or the desire to like get it out there to entertain people, there just wouldn't be like that cool stuff wouldn't exist. And it's like no one else has done it. And just like hearing that and then talking with you is kind of like, I don't know, sort of a little bit motivated me more, because I have all these ideas for the type of content I'd like to create in the form of video. I just really never do it because I don't know why, but without that person doing it, you just don't have all this cool stuff existing. So I think definitely talking with you has sort of like, I don't know, like opened up that motivation for me a little bit, and sort of like makes me want to go after it a little bit more.
Awesome. Yeah, I've always been like one to be like, what if you could do this? And like every 100 what ifs are just like ridiculous and crazy and they would never happen. But then like one is like really good. And then I've always found the ones that end up actually happening, I find some sort of like partner in it. I've always had like a great partner. Deuces Cracked, I had 5 partners. And, the idea came from, I had a coaching site before that, but then the idea to do videos came from Chuck Danielson, who is one of the partners. Dan's a smack. Some people might know him, but he came to me with this idea for like how to do video series. Nobody was doing training video series then. And I was like, that's it. Like that's a missing piece. Then we went out and pitched it to other people and they bought into the vision. So you had everyone seeing that vision and like understanding how it would work. And with Bet Raise Fold, it was like Ryan, who was a filmmaker, and he was really motivating. So in times when I would just be wanting to play poker and do other stuff, he was always being like, what's going on with this idea? Like, let's do this, let's do that, like driving the ball forward. With the micros, it was like I was thinking about scripted poker series. And actually before even the idea for the micros came about, the idea that I was messing with was like, it would be really funny to do a series that took place inside an online poker site. Like the people who run an online poker site, like how hilarious would that be? And that still hasn't even been done, and I still think that would be hilarious. But I met John Ray, who had done like the Raven poker version video. It was like this funny poker version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven on 2+2, and he had done it using this like animation software, Extra Normal, that everybody was using. And I commented in that thread, like, awesome video. He messaged me that he liked 2 Months, 2 Million. And I messaged him like, oh, hey, I was thinking about this idea for like a scripted poker show. Do you think you could do a scripted web series using that animation? He was just like, let's Skype now. Like it was sort of like, that's an awesome idea. And it was this back and forth. And I've always found personally, when I try to do stuff completely on my own, sometimes I hit a wall, I lose motivation, it's harder for me to see it through to the end. But when I have a partner who's like really enthused and buys into the idea, there's some sort of almost like, pact that we make between ourselves where it's like, yes, we must push the other person to do this. Like with two people, we can, or more, it can get done. So I definitely like think that partners can be super valuable in this endeavor. Like it's almost like finding the right romantic partner in a way. Like you want somebody who compliments you, who makes you better, who pushes you to do more. And you always, like, the best business advice I ever got was be very selective in choosing partners. Pick good partners, really. You want somebody who's got like positive energy, who's not going to be a drain, who is good at resolving conflict, because inevitably there's like conflict in these things, and just like in romantic relationships or whatnot. But yeah, like, and also the other parting advice I could give is like, I know that somebody who has like zillions of ideas all the time, there's so many that you could go with. Like, it's important to pick the best one. As actually another poker player who got into entertainment, Justin Smith, Boosted J, he produced the Power Rangers reboot film that just came out. If people haven't seen it, it's like Power/Rangers on Vimeo. And he always tells me, like, how do I know which project to invest my time in, which one to choose? And he's like, wait for the nuts, And I'm like, well, how do you know when you have the nuts?
Yeah.
It's like, you have the nuts. You have the nuts. So, I mean, that's kind of all it is. Once you know, And the nuts in a creative endeavor might be not only having the best idea, but knowing who the right partners are going to be and having them invested too. So that's that. We'll have to do this again.
Well, I mean, I can get you on for part 2 anytime, man, if you want to come on next time. Or cool. I mean, it could be sometime soon. I'll hit you up on Facebook. We'll chat and we'll get it done.
All right, sweet.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna get some shout outs, Jay. I'll let you go. I haven't shouted anybody in the chat. I gotta give them some shout outs before we go. So
awesome. Do your thing. May the force be with you guys. Great talking with you.
We want to follow you on Twitter. It's at DCKrantz, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, boys. You guys want to follow him on there. You want to figure out what he's doing. You want to stay up to date on the virtual reality, on the upcoming book, on any poker projects, on Twitter at DCKrantz. Jay, thanks for coming on, buddy.
No problem. Later.
Chat with you soon. Peace out. All right, guys. We're going to give a couple shout outs here because we didn't give any shout outs. Bring this man back. Ozzy War says, of course, we're going to bring Jay back, man. We wish we had him on there for a longer. I got to say, man, there's not too many podcasts I do where I'm feeling like a little bit pumped up to do some cool shit afterwards. But I got to say right now, I'm pretty pumped up. Rems, what's up, Rems? Kush Strain, Casino Gag, Nathan Samuel, Puppy, Believe It. What's up, Believe It? Kevin Clarkson, always bringing interesting comments. What's up, boys? Sir Golden Silverhorn, I don't know what you're talking about. What's up, man? Ross Duffin, what's up? Faden. Who else we got? Ali Bro, Hooker Aficionado. What's up, Ali Bro? You have any hooker questions, you come to Ali Bro. He's been with hookers in 25 different countries, over 150. So he's the guy to go to. Who else we got? Luke Armstrong, Jeff Panzeres, Chris Perkins. Chris said he's the one that was responsible for getting this done. So shout out to Chris for making this happen. Warfrat, Joel Yonkis, Puppy, Yonkis on Stars. What's up, buddy? Craig Thomas Music. He said he's working. You said you're working on a theme song. We need a theme song for the podcast. So if any of you guys out there got a theme song, you send it my way. I'm more than happy to potentially use it. And Liquors, what's up, Liquors? Puppy. Let me see. I know I gotta go back and get some names. CH Boy, what's up? What's up? Aaron Sanders, what's up? What's up? I know Marcus Legit was in the chat. What's up, Marcus? Marco, Alin, Puppy, Daniele, Dragos, John's Christian Syrup, Tim S, Mucky Mouse, Matt Naper, aka Nat Daddy, Craig Stewart. I'm trying to get through as many names as possible. Rem says I look high. I promise I'm not high, man. I don't even know what it is. My eyes feels like sort of heavy, but I promise you we're not high. And even if I was high, I mean that could be cool, but I've never gotten high before, so I've never gotten high off weed before. Let's put it like that. Lankle38 says free Brian Mycon. Shout out to Brian Mycon, man. We hope you're doing well out there. Crazy. Ozzy War says, can you get Effing on Sharon? If you hit him up on Twitter, convince him to come on. That'll it. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back. I don't have anything definite lined up right now. Might be doing something tomorrow or Friday with Asher, who I had on. We're going to do some more Coachella and Stagecoach, which is another music festival trip report. And that's it. I'll see you guys soon. Much love. Peace out. Adios.